Oh my gosh, that was the worst thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And I have seen a lot of bad things. I've watched the fourth remake of The Crow.
Superposition is the idea that quantum objects can be in two different states at the same time. This seems like a crazy idea and something we'd never observe, but we do indirectly with the double slit experiment. Fire individual electrons through two slits at a screen, and the pattern you see is not just the sum of electrons going separately through one slit and the other slit. It is an interference pattern. We are forced to conclude that a single electron somehow goes through one slit and the other slit simultaneously.
Okay, so let's just think about what Veritasium said here, okay? So this electron supposedly goes through both slits simultaneously, right? Well, then we should get two dots when they crash onto the screen behind the slits, right? But we don't. We ask Gemini AI, do we get one dot or two dots? We only get one dot on our screen from when this electron goes through. And these wave bands that we're showing, they're made up of a whole bunch of little dots, okay? If you zoom in, it's a whole bunch of crashed electrons, and the crashed electrons are what are making this wave pattern. Maybe it's not the electron itself, which is a wave. Maybe it's on like a wave, you know? Like if I take a bunch of little pieces of paper, I shred them up and throw them in a pond, and I make a water wave, the pieces of paper, they're going to move a lot like the way the ripples in the pond are moving, right? So it looks a lot like a wave, but it's actually just something traveling on top of a wave. It's on solid grounds. Okay, let's accept that it's on solid grounds. I'm not even going to use that to debunk this. We'll assume, okay, sure, that's solid ground.
The radioactive atom in a superposition of decayed and not decayed gets entangled with the detector and in turn the cat. Now remember, we are also made of electrons and atoms which obey the laws of quantum mechanics, so we are quantum mechanical too. So when we open the box, there is no measurement, no wave function collapse. We simply get entangled with the state of everything inside the box. So we see the cat alive, and we see the cat dead. Now, how is that possible? I'm guessing you've never seen both an alive and dead cat before. But the solution is, it's because the you that saw the cat alive and the you that saw it dead actually inhabit separate worlds. By that I mean, they exist in their own complete realities, and those realities will never interact.
And what makes it extra bad is that Veritasium, like his stuff is usually very good. Okay, most of his content is really like down to earth, logical, and evidence based. And then we get this like quantum stuff, so he makes it seem a lot more credible because like most of the stuff he's saying isn't that crazy, right? Now in my Copenhagen video, I talk about the differences between direct and indirect observation. So when I blow this piece of paper, this is an indirect observation, right? And we can know the wind from my mouth exists because we can see its effect on reality, right? That's what an indirect observation is. You're observing the effects of something. Whereas direct observation is like this pen, you're directly observing it, okay? If you cannot indirectly or directly observe something, then it's impossible to observe. And if someone tells you they've observed the unobservable, well, you know they're lying for sure, right? You can't observe the unobservable. So what's going on here with this many worlds theory is it's simply just an unfalsifiable claim. So if I try to indirectly observe Schrodinger's cat, if I cover my eyes and I feel around in the box, they're going to say that this entangles me to the system. You're going to split off into these many worlds, right? And if I take a roll of tape and I throw it at the box to listen for a meow, they're going to say this also entangles you. Any sort of interaction you have with the system will entangle you and split you off into these many worlds. So the reality is there's simply no way you can conduct an experiment to indirectly observe the superposition of this cat, right? How can you indirectly prove that this cat is alive and dead? You can't do it. So we're left with an unfalsifiable claim. Now, science is all about falsifiability. This is a basic premise of science. With quantum mechanics are saying, well, it can't be this, can't be this, can't be this, so it must be this many worlds explanation, right? But they've actually made a mistake, and they've overlooked an even simpler and more logical explanation here. Now, while this many worlds theory is very intriguing because of its simplicity, what about negative quantum consciousness theory? So how does that work exactly? Well, it's really simple, okay? So you have your four dimensions of space-time: length, width, height, and time. But you can't have negative space-time because you can't go backwards in time. It's impossible to go faster than the speed of light, so you can't actually travel backwards in time. So the negative fourth dimension is actually how we observe time, which is consciousness. When you take time and consciousness and you subtract time, all you're left with is consciousness. Now all we have to do is realize that our superposition exists in a state of positive space and negative space. Superposition is existing in contradiction. So another contradiction is its dimensional space also has to exist negatively. So how do we measure consciousness? Well, this comes down to a very simple equation here. And now all we have to do is factor in this equation, and we can see how simple it is. This is such a simple solution. I can't believe physicists overlooked it. What do you think? Do you think this quantum stuff is all a bunch of nonsense? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And, share, subscribe this video or whatever.